All right. Welcome back to Ekene Banye's Reflections. A few days ago, I read something that stopped me in my track. Bill Gates. Yes, the same Bill Gates, who for years told us that the climate change could be one of the greatest challenges humanity has ever faced. He just changed his mind, changed his tune. He now says it will not lead to humanity's demise. People will be able to live and thrive in most places on earth for the foreseeable future. Really? So, my question is, what new information did Bill Gates get that ordinary people, even a parent like me, with a worried teenage daughter 6 years ago, could not get sooner? Because from where I stand, the same data has been available. The counter arguments, the nuances, the innovation part has been available for a long time. So, why now for him? Why now for him to shift his opinion? That's the question I'm asking in this video. For years, Bill Gates sounded like many climate orthodoxy voices. The world is on the brink of catastrophe. We must cut emissions immediately at any cost. Every fraction of a degree of warming is a moral crisis. In 2021, his book, How to Avoid a Climate Disaster, set out a blueprint for getting to a zero emission and warned of a bathtub filling up with greenhouse gases. He didn't just fund projects, he helped shape the doom-laden narrative. So when someone like Bill Gates, with a vast resources and expert access, signs up to the panic script, it resonates globally and especially for young people, including my teenage daughters. Then came the moment of change. In October 2025, Bill Gates published a blog post and spoke publicly saying, although climate change will have serious consequences, it will not lead to humanity's demise. People will be able to live and thrive in most places on the earth for the foreseeable future. He argued that the real focus should be on improving lives, not just emission targets. Even more striking, he said he accepts a 0 0.1 degree in temperature if he meant eradicating malaria. That is not a minor adjustment. It is a shift from his former rhetoric to a pragmatic human welfare. So, again, did Gates just get a new science? Or was he simply allowed to speak more frankly now that the cultural politics around climate are shifting? I don't know. This matters because the prior narrative has real consequences, especially for Africa and young people. One, think about economies. Many countries, especially poor ones, were told that they must decarbonize, shift away from fossil fuels, adopt clean energy transition prematurely, even when energy access, food security, infrastructure were still fragile. Gates now criticizes the obsession with near-term emission cuts as diverting resources from human well-being. Two, think about youth and mental health. When a generation is raised hearing that the planet is ending, many respond with despair, resignation, activism, instead of building. My own daughter asked, why plan for business if there is no future? This message was global, amplified everywhere, including in Africa. I've spoken to a lot of African youths who were climate activists. Three, think about policy and opportunity. When the narrative is doom, the default becomes regulation, restriction, fear, not innovation, growth, and empowerment. Gates argues the better part is innovation, prosperity, and technological progress. So the question is, if Gates and the climate narrative gatekeepers were pushing the urgency and the panic for so long, who suffered? Who built? Who paused? And why are we only now hearing we'll live and thrive? See, let me be clear. I'm not saying climate change is fake. Nope. I believe it's real. I'm saying this. When someone like Bill Gates, who has access and resources, changes course, it deserves a reason. We need to know why. Here are some plausible explanations. One, ideological capture. For years, many elites in media, academia, philanthropy embrace the doomsday climate narrative because it signaled moral virtue, intellectual purity, and political action. Two, strategic repositioning. If the cost of decarbonization are becoming political and economically burdensome, especially for developing countries, then shifting the story towards human welfare and innovation makes sense. Gates quotes, we should measure success by our impact on human welfare more than our impact on the global temperature. End quote. 3, innovation optimism. There are signs that clean energy technology, carbon capture, and adaptation capacities are advancing faster than expected. Gates has noted reasons for optimism. 4, pressure and credibility. When people invested in the old narrative, philanthropy, media, and policy faced backlash or extreme cost trade-off, especially in Africa and other poor countries. The narrative becomes unsustainable. For Africa, the risk is not just climate change. It's being held hostage to a narrative that stifles growth, innovation, and opportunity. And when the gatekeepers shift, we should ask, did they lead us to clarity or to complacency? Here is what Africa should learn from this. 1, question the narrative. Just because someone powerful says it doesn't mean that the path is panic. 2, focus on development. In places where energy access, health, and infrastructure are lacking, growth and prosperity are the best defense against any climate shock. Gates now agrees. 3, build capacity and innovation. We should invest in people, technology, and systems in Africa, so we are not perpetual victims of someone else's urgency. 4, balance climate risk and human risk. The story isn't save the planet first, people second. It's make people thrive, and that will make the planet safer. So the real question isn't whether the planet will survive. It will. The question is, will we thrive as Africans, entrepreneurs, creators, and young people in a world that keeps changing its story on us? Bill Gates did not wake up one morning with a new science paper. The science of climate change hasn't changed that drastically in the past few months. At least I've not seen anything drastically different. What changed is the story he allowed himself to tell and what he prioritized. If someone of his status can pivot from doomsday narrative to opportunity, then we are all entitled to ask the question, what did we build while we're told to worry? What did we choose not to do because of that panic? And what the narrative resets? Who profits? Who suffers? And who gets to decide? The message I want you, especially young Africans, to take away: the world will not end tomorrow. No. But your future still depends on what you build today, not on what you are told to fear. So don't wait for perfect certainty. Don't wait for someone else's story to end. Build, innovate, thrive. Because the greatest risk is not climate change. No. It's surrendering your life to someone else's narrative, like Bill Gates.